I learned late in life that sometimes surviving is not good enough. I need to overcome. Surviving means I am barely making it. Overcoming is I cross to the other side. Welcome to Broken Silence. Today we are going to talk about crossing over from victim to victor. And I am honored to have my adorable and delightful guest, Anne Beiler, Auntie Anne. Most of you know. And I'm going to turn to you, Anne, and thank you for being with me today.
It is my joy to be here again today and for the two of us to be able to share our stories and our lives and just to be a voice, maybe for those who feel like they've lost their voice,
Yes,
And I think both of us understand what it's like to not have a voice.
absolutely.
And that's why when we talk about surviving, it's really not the same as overcoming. I remember feeling like I was a survivor for many, many years. But I've crossed over, like you said, into this life of overcoming life. And it's
Mhm.
so wonderful to be able to be here today and just share some of that with our audience.
Yes, I think we both know the victim part of our lives, right? And this is not a judgment on, oh, you're a victim. You stay in the victim place. But I think people go through victim state has a choice to make later on in life, because surviving is just breathing.
Absolutely.
Surviving is just barely making it. You hit by a truck, you hit by a car, something happened to you, and then you're alive. And it is not good enough. We want healing power of our creator, and then we want more than healing. We want to be on the other side to help and heal others.
Absolutely. And I think that very often we don't really understand that we're survivors, that we've survived.
Mhm.
It's like something happens to you and you are a victim.
Yes.
No doubt. Very
Yeah.
often you have been victimized.
Yes.
And then we get through that in time, maybe years, maybe months, maybe it's much longer than that. That we feel like we've been victimized. And then at one point, we cross over to surviving. It's kind of like when I think about that, I think of this tsunami in a number of years ago,
Mhm.
and like the tsunami came and destroyed many many homes and people's lives, and they were the victims of the tsunami, no doubt about
Yes.
it. And as time went on, they some of them left, and but many of them survived.
Yes.
They rebuilt, and they started their lives over again.
Mhm.
People came in and helped them, and they actually survived and started life.
Yes.
But you know what? I that's really not good enough. It's like surviving is like you get through it and you're like, wow, I made it through that.
Mhm.
And I know what that feels like. And
Yes.
I myself, I lived with that mentality after the abuse and the struggles and the darkness and the dark world that I experienced, where I
Mhm.
knew I was a victim. But eventually, wow, I survived that.
Mhm.
And I really thought that was as far as that's great to survive.
Yes.
And I really felt like that was as far I thought that's all there was to life. Like I
Yes.
survived. Wow.
Yes.
And that's really very often what we think about when we think about, a victim. We want to get them through that so that they can survive.
Yes. And when we look at our original identity, we see that we are not victims in our identity. We are victors. God is calling us to be a victor. He's not calling us and destining us to be a victim. Uh, Whether we make wrong choices in life, or life happens to us, tragedies happen
Absolutely.
in war, in difficult circumstances, famine and starvation. There are a lot of victims of natural disasters, just like you shared. And this is nobody's fault most of the time to become a
That's
victim.
right.
But then Jesus shows up. Jesus shows up in John 5 at the pool when man is complaining because he's a victim, and he's like, everybody is going ahead of me. And Jesus is not interested in his victim state. He says, pick up your mat, get up and walk,
Mhm.
because he wants to see a victor. And then in John chapter 4, then Samaritan woman comes to him and he's like, give me water. And she's like, you're asking me water? Yeah, yes, I am asking you. You had 5 husbands, and the man that you are right now you are with is not your husband you are living with. And immediately she becomes a female evangelist in Samaria. I mean, Jesus, wherever he goes, he's meeting with these victims and he's turning them into victors. I think he has this highest degree in taking junk and turning into treasure. And I'm seeing him doing it repeatedly. So I just want to tell people God is on your side if you are feeling like a victim right
Absolutely.
now, because he wants to turn you to not survivor, but overcomer.
And I think surviving is kind of a feel good place.
Yes. Yeah.
It really is. It's
I made it, right? I
made
just
it.
made it.
I
Yeah.
made it. And I remember the day in when we lived after we'd gone through all that we'd gone through, and Jonas and I were actually a happily married couple again.
Mhm.
Still things needed to be worked out, but we were together. There was peace between us.
Mhm.
And I remember one day he was at work and I took a bubble bath for the first time in many years. And I'm in this bubble bath and I said, Lord, this is really good.
Mhm.
Thank you for this, this time and this peace that I'm feeling right now. But I said, there has to be more to life than this.
Yes.
So I went from victim to surviving and into this thought that this is really great that we survived as a couple,
Mhm.
but there's got to be more to it. So maybe we need to start thinking about in the survival mode. Maybe we need to start thinking about we have a story to tell now. We can tell our story.
Yes.
And in time, as you know, and as many people know, we no longer just survived and we're at peace with each other, but God had so much more for us.
Mhm.
He wanted us to go over into cross the line of survival to overcoming.
Yes.
And I often wonder, how do we tell people how do we help people get from surviving to overcoming?
Mhm.
And again, it's we share our stories and we just talk about what happened to us, and what I'm hoping and praying that that through our stories people can get the hope, and through the word of God as well,
Yes.
all these things. But I know for me, going from feeling like a victim to surviving, amazing, I survived. I still couldn't remember that feeling. I
Yes.
survived.
That's a great feeling.
It's great to be there.
Yes.
And so then realizing that there's more to life. And when I began to share my life openly and
Mhm.
began to share my story with others, that just put me into a whole other world. I crossed a line
Yes.
where I was no longer feeling like I'm surviving. I mean,
Yeah.
when
I
you're
can breathe.
yeah, survivors actually, there's a lot that
Mhm.
happens emotionally and physically to us
Yeah.
in our survival mode. But when I crossed over into the overcoming life, which was a journey as well, which we don't need to talk about right
Yeah.
now, but that's where I found real life and joy and great peace and purpose.
Absolutely. When you said purpose, I think that's the part of being a victor. Because when you're a victim, you don't even know how to process your situation, circumstance. You are being abused, you're in a war, you're in a certain tragedy, you are living it. I lived in it. And you really don't know how to process, because every day you need to survive. You need to just make it. This is what you are living. Then after everything is over, actually your new journey is starting, new chapter is starting, healing part of it. But when you come to the victor overcomer state, you know what happens? That story becomes your platform.
Mm.
And that story that was so nasty, so ugly, so you don't want to go and visit, gives you shame, condemnation, judgment. All these things that you have been pointing fingers at yourself and your life are becoming your platform.
Absolutely.
And at that moment, when you're helping other people in their circumstances to not to survive but overcome, then you are really slaying the devil. And that is the ultimate victory. And I wrote few things that I want to share with you. Victim focuses on the past. This happened to me, happened to me, happened to me. I speak at churches, conferences, I make altar calls. People come and immediately if they are living in a victim or victor state. This happened to me. They did this to me. They did that to me. That person is all talking about the past. Still, she's in a victim place. And then Victor focuses on what is next, future. What is next? How am I going to move forward?
Yeah.
Okay, I have this problem, but I'm not going to stay in the victim state here. I'm going to move on. And even someone from the past is coming back. I left you there. You are not part of this journey right now. We said our goodbyes in the past, and I'm not that victim anymore. And then victim focuses on the problem. Victor focuses on the solution. You know, so you can know people by their speech. Victim says it is too much, and Victor says this is not even enough. You see, he's taking challenges. She's taking challenges and saying, "I want to learn from this. I'm really liking it." And history is made by those who are victors. You just name it, from Thomas Edison to greatest inventors. You find these people that they tried and tried and tried. They failed, or tragedies happened to them, like Corrie ten Boom. But then that concentration camp, her survival, but after survival, her forgiveness made her a victor.
And
So
she
it's amazing.
overcame.
She overcame.
When you hear people's stories like that, and we know other
Yeah.
people that
Nick Vujicic.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he's not a victim. He's a victor
Yeah, absolutely.
because his story is his platform right
That's
now.
right.
You know, when you look at him, I don't feel sorry for him. I don't have pity for him. I have incredible respect and admiration for him because he inspires me.
And really, when you get to that point of overcoming and sharing your life, speaking of Nick Vujicic, I mean,
You know him, right?
Yeah, I know him well, and he could be at home laying in his bed.
Mhm.
He would have for those who don't know, Nick is limbless. He has no
Yes.
arms and no legs, none. And he has every reason to feel like he's the victim and
Yes.
could be home doing nothing. But they have 4 beautiful children. He travels around the world, has been in over, I forget how many countries,
Mhm.
but his pain propelled him
Yes.
to the platform to share his story
Yes.
and to let other people know. Why do we do this as victors? Because we want to bring other people along.
Absolutely. Like I recently been through a trial, and then at the end of the trial, I said, I promised myself I'm not going to revisit this. And my trauma healing came with a miraculous healing of Jesus. And then after a couple of weeks, my mom said, "You never talk about this? You never remember this?" I said, "Tell you the truth, no. I said goodbye to that. And I'm not going to keep revisiting it and grieving and regretting over something that was victimizing me. Because I want to live. I don't have even 20 seconds for this anymore because I spent enough time. And I don't have any time anymore to waste it. I cannot afford, this is what I tell myself, and I cannot afford to live in the past. I need to move on.
Absolutely. I think that you can use your story, which is your past. I mean,
Yes.
our story is our past.
Yes,
And we can use that story then.
absolutely.
And what you have done so well is just to
Thank
share
you.
your life.
Mhm.
We cannot forget it.
No.
We can remember it with purpose.
Yes.
And I remember for years I felt like the victim, and I would whine and complain, and I didn't
Mhm.
even realize I was complaining.
Absolutely.
But it was kind of like I was just everything was so bad, and I would blame everything on me.
Yes.
Why is everything my fault? The victim mentality is so depressing,
Yes.
and it's so hard to be with,
Mhm.
to be around people that are victimized. Although we want to help people that are in that place, and so I've
Yes.
learned to have great compassion
Mhm.
and try to bring hope and healing to them
Yes.
through my own story.
It is hope and healing, and also forgiving, because for you to move on and forgetting the past, you need to forgive.
Absolutely.
It's not possible to be a victor without forgiving the people that hurt you, and you keep bitterness in your heart. These are all like heavy rocks that you carry with you. So I said, if I am gonna be a victor and I'm gonna move on, I forgive,
Mhm.
and I make peace with it. I forgive myself for allowing, victimhood in my life. And I am going to forgive the person that who victimized me. But I am not going to waste time anymore. And anytime anything happens and I feel stuck, I need to tell myself, like Paul said, it is not that he said, I obtain everything, right? In his word. I didn't obtain, I didn't arrive Victor doesn't mean I arrived. Victor doesn't mean that I am reached to perfection. But I leave, Paul said, what is behind and pressing towards the goal that ahead of me. And I'm not going to let anybody rob me of this goal.
And that is really the victor, is pressing on towards the goal. What is your goal? I think you
the
have
purpose.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I didn't share with you in our private time, but God is reminding me right now. Right after going through this trial, a major ministry called me, and we were talking on the phone, and I shared very briefly what I was going through. And I was going through it at that moment. And the minister who is our covering said to me, "You want to give the devil a black eye?" I said, "Absolutely." He's like, "Write a book about this. Write a book about abuse and trauma." And he offered me something greater than I could ever expect. So he said, "You write this, Ishak. When you write this, not shaming anybody, not being bitter about this, but your own experience to help other people, you are establishing yourself not as a victim, but as a victor."
And that's what overcoming is. Finally, we see what we can actually do.
Yes.
And we move toward that.
Yes. I mean, we all need compassion, but I don't need anybody to feel sorry for me.
Right.
I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I don't want to feel sorry for myself. Sometimes, mothers have a tendency, "Oh, my poor baby," I tell my mom, "Don't do this to me. Don't call me my poor baby." And I have a story about that to share later.
Yeah. Well, the overcoming life is really the end goal. But, I think that many in our audience are either in the victim stage, been there for maybe a very long time.
Yes.
And they're just trying to figure out how can they get out of this vicious cycle. And they long to survive, and that's really our prayer and our hope for for y'all, is that first of all, that you recognize that you're a victim. It's really important to know, instead of wondering what's wrong with me or what happened. Understand, if you're a victim, you need to admit that and say that to yourself and someone else. Admit that you have become a victim, and don't stay there, and then decide how can I get to the next step of survival. And I really feel like the only way that you can do that is by opening up your heart and your life and begin to speak truth about what's happening and your victim mentality and your victim experience, and then go on to survival. And then we're here today to encourage you to keep moving until you get through to the overcoming life. It's not a place where you can say, "I finally arrived," but it is a wonderful place to be.
Yes. And of course, some positions are as a process. It may take time. Like, we survive, we need a therapy. I've been through therapy like most of my Christian walk, and then we survive, we need counseling. We survive, we need a vacation. I mean, there are a lot of different things that can help us to process things better, to understand what we go through. When I talked to a counselor while I was going through this, he gave me a wonderful advice. He said, "Give yourself a permission to feel." So Victor doesn't mean that I'm not going to feel anymore. I am not going to cry anymore. I'm not going to grieve anymore. So I'm going to become this superhuman to become a victor. No, I am not that. I am perfectly human with all my imperfections, my mistakes, that I own them. But I refuse to live in the old state. And I am moving on to the new state, new chapter, new scroll, whatever you call it, new season in my life. And my past is not going to prevent me from moving on.
Absolutely.
So he said to me, "If you want to cry, cry. If you want to scream, scream. Give yourself a permission to be human in the process of becoming a victor." Because a lot of people, they are like, "I need to be strong. I am not going to cry." And that is being taught in our Middle Eastern culture. Men don't cry. I love men crying. Not that I want to make them cry, but their vulnerability shows their strength, that they are not afraid to look like that. And I think that is a key point here, that victor is not us losing our human side and us becoming a superman, superwoman, but we are becoming more human, but in a feeling comfortable and at peace under our own skin.
Absolutely. And I feel like when you're going from survival to overcomer, eh, I reflect.
Yes,
I reflect on my past
that's very good.
so much. It's okay to reflect, but it doesn't bring me down. It doesn't make me mad. It doesn't make me feel depressed. I reflect on that. And as I reflect on my past, I see the goodness of God. I see his grace and I see his love and his mercy, not just from him,
Yes,
but from all the people that were with me in my when I was a victim and when I was surviving. But I reflect on that and I remember all those times when people came to my rescue, when God came to my rescue,
yes,
and it gives me just hope
yes,
for my future. Like no matter what
yes,
comes my way, I'm going to be able to overcome and
absolutely.
stay in this life of overcoming instead of regrets and guilt and victimhood. It's a
Absolutely.
wonderful way to live.
I mean, your story is a true inspiration to me because you've been victimized by someone, and that could really keep you stuck in that state all of your life. I know people that they've been through things that you've been through. Unfortunately, they couldn't find a way out and they got stuck. They were groomed into such evil state, oppression and depression, and they couldn't get out. But you didn't only get out, you came to a place that God, with God's wisdom, of course, and with his help and favor in your life, you build an empire. And more than billions of people ate your product
Are eating.
and still eating your pretzels.
Yeah.
I mean, come on! If this is not being a victor, what is that? And that is what I want to inspire people with. You are far more than you are settling for. And when you are settling, you're a victim, and you shouldn't be settling.
And you don't know in that state of mind, you really don't dream, you don't think about, you don't know that God has he has a plan for you. It's probably not
Yes.
selling pretzels around the world,
Yeah.
it's something, whatever it is, it's grand.
Yes.
Whatever he asks you to do, it's grand.
Yes.
And but in this victim mentality, we can't even think about that. We don't even know. But I want y'all to know that there is a grand plan for your life. Again, a grand is in my opinion, it's what God has given you to do, whatever your purpose might be. It's grand and it's glorious. But if we're staying in this victim
Yes.
mentality, we'll never see that.
Yes.
And that to me is sad. I feel like, God's people, his children, we need to fulfill the plan
Absolutely.
that he has for his children so that we can then influence the whole world because of the love of Christ.
Absolutely. It reminds me of this story that I read. I love to read these inspiring stories. And this man was part of a very poor family during the times that they found gold in America. And everybody was going to this, finding gold, digging and digging. He had nothing. He didn't know, he didn't have a map. He didn't, groups of people would go and find gold. And he was in this victim state, but all he had had a shovel. He didn't have money to travel anywhere. He had one beaten shovel, and somebody saw it in his hand, and they were going to, find gold. And they offered him how many years ago? $100. Imagine, it was a big money. So he couldn't even believe that somebody would pay for this shovel for $100. So he sold his shovel for $100, and he went and he bought more shovels and he started selling them, and he became a multi-billionaire just by selling shovels
And
during gold time. He
One.
started only one. But you see, for me, victim is the one that sees only obstacles. I don't have money, I don't have company, I don't have people with me, I am alone. But then victor is the one who sees opportunities in the obstacles.
Absolutely.
And that man didn't make billions of dollars because of gold, because he was part of the solution to a problem. So I think people should be very inspired with that. And of course, we have other victims of war victims, right? And so forth, so on. Anything you want to whisper to them?
Absolutely. I just want to encourage everyone. Again, what's in your hand? What do you have? And that sounds so simple, but it's really as simple, it's as powerful as that. What's in your hand? and
Yes.
take it and do something with it.
Yes. So saying that, I'm going to read something from my dear friend's book, and I decided to share here. Um, the name of the book is Fight, and it is written by Abdallah Daher. So on the 30th page, he's describing his father. He was powerful, undefeatable, unbreakable, and fierce, like a rock, determined to protect us, no matter the cost. They were in the midst of the war, and they were in Lebanon, and bombing was everywhere, and they were trying to survive as 8 people in the family. And I felt safe and secure in his shelter. Nothing could touch me when he was near. When we were under attack with bombs falling all around our bunker, we would all be in the corners and under blankets, crying and screaming. But even then, my father was so strong. It is okay. It is okay. We are going to be all right. He would calmly say to us, trying to soothe our fears. I clutched my head in my hands, trying not to completely fall apart, but thinking we are about to die, and you are saying it is okay? It is not okay. But then I would look up at him. He just stood there so calmly, observing all the chaos and tragedy around him, and releasing words of peace and assurance. You are going to be okay. We are going to be fine. Just calm down and pray to God, and He will take care of you. Don't fear. Don't be afraid. It is okay. It shall pass. I remember those words so clearly because he said them over and over every time things were terribly wrong. It shall pass. It shall pass. Trust in God, and it shall pass. That is one of the greatest truths I learned from my dad, and it is what helped me survive and grow. No matter how bad the situation gets, it shall pass. It will not determine the rest of our lives. It might be hard, difficult, or stressful, but it will pass. This is an attitude of a victor. It is not only telling the world or the circumstances that we are going to stay in this state. It is gonna pass. We're gonna trust God, and not it's only going to pass. We are going to be fine. And if you are in that place right now, we want to encourage you, my friend, and this wonderful book, Fight, by Abdallah Daher, and me. We are telling you, no matter how bad it is, you are going to survive, and you are going to become an overcomer.